Yep. Hey. All right. So I will just start with the video and then switch back to the video presentation. I wanted to present a couple of works focusing on exploration on of the network infrastructure and different research that are kind of trying to materialize network dynamics. So I will switch off my camera and share my screen. I hope it works. Can you see anything? Yeah. Right. Okay. So yeah, before presenting the Piratina, which is on view in the exhibition, I wanted kind of to introduce with a couple of other research that kind of bring me here. So first, I will focus on a couple of projects that were exploring the physicality of the network. Things that have been developed between 2006 and 11. So it all started basically in a research team I was a part of called Locus Sonus. And this research team was at the time developing a network of open microphones. And those microphones were streamed live permanently, 24 on 24. And basically, it was open for anybody to use or to mix or to include in artistic projects and so on. And basically, the pretension around this project was kind of to offer sonic windows on the world and to have this kind of transparent view of distant places, or at least transparent sounds from distant places. And what actually happened when I was part of this team 10 years ago was that when you wanted to listen to those streams, most of the time what you will hear was not that much of a transparent signal coming from a distant place, but a lot of other things like glitches, small failures in the signal, the poor quality of microphone, and so on and so on. And basically, at some point, I realized that we were listening to something about the infrastructure of the network. So I can let you listen to a short sample of the kind of sounds it could produce. So this is kind of a super buggy example, but it illustrates very well my point. Basically, at this time, this pretension of giving a window or proposing to people to listen to distant sounds didn't feel to me as anything new. I mean, radio exists since more than a century. Phone exists since a while as well. The theatrophone even was proposing to attend to a theatrical show over telephone in the late 19th century. And somehow in this project, what suddenly interested me a lot was the fact that actually the intended part of it, the unintended part of it, was that it was revealing the infrastructure through the sound. So basically, I started a series of research focusing especially on that, on trying to embody or to reveal the infrastructure that we couldn't kind of reach in another way. So as you probably know, and many other speakers probably have shown this, the network is not a transparent thing. It's not a straight line, and it's not permanent. In the opposite, actually, it's rather kind of a dynamic mesh, something which is ever changing. And for each packet of your transmission, actually, the network or the routes can change. It's optimized all the time, and that's actually a kind of super interesting quality of it, which makes it super reliable, but also in the term of perception, it's really a new kind of a new environment to explore. So that's where a new project started trying to reveal the dynamic of the network. And the first part was trying to reveal that using silent audio streams. So basically connecting distant servers together and setting up an audio stream on the side and a listener on the other side. So we've been starting with the Art of Failure Collective at the time. We started to hack streaming libraries and to try to remove everything that makes it slick and correct. So we removed the buffers, the error correction, and the packet reordering, for instance. Always in this idea to reveal in the most simple and brutal way the dynamics of the network. So what you can see here is kind of a quick draft of this kind of infrastructure between, for instance, a concert venue and different distant servers. So I have a short excerpt of one of those experiments. It's called Infinite Stream Loop, and basically it's two servers connected together and exchanging what is initially a silent stream, and that slowly incorporate a lot of qualities, errors, mistakes directly connected with the network infrastructure. So basically all the sound you will hear is directly a product of the network infrastructure. So basically, what you are listening now is just a few samples, basically 1 second of sample every day from a project that has been running for a few years. This project also has been translated at some point in a kind of sculpture where basically every minute of this stream has been analyzed using a spectrogram, and every row of this sculpture is a spectrogram of 1 minute. So the sculpture is like 24 hours of this evolving background noise of the internet, basically, kind of embodied into this brick. Another project which is super close to the previous one is internet topography. So it's something that is rather shown as an exhibition, an installation. So what you see on the screen here is a projection on the floor, and every horizontal line is also a spectrogram of the sound you are listening right now in the present. And then the history goes to the back. So basically the line which is the closest to you is a spectrogram of the sound, the errors that are produced right now on the route between you and the distant server. So I will also show you a short sample of this installation. And both what you can hear and what you can see is a kind of a transposition or an interpretation of this background noise. So the sound is actually the background noise, and the visual is the spectrogram of this background noise. What is happening in this specific project is that we have a server in Japan, which is running 24/24 and sending a silent stream. And on the exhibition side, we just have a stream player where every error protection has been removed. So basically, you hear to the stream with every packet that has been lost, or every packet that arrived in a wrong order, every error or corruption of the initial data. So it's really this kind of transparent interpretation of the flow of data coming from this silent stream from the Tokyo server. After that, basically, we've been continuing with the Art of Failure Collective, same line of research, but trying to use the ping command. The ping command is a very simple computing tool, just to check if a computer is on somewhere on the network. But it also gives the echo time, which is basically the delay between your computer and the destination computer. So we wanted to use that somehow to kind of grasp or make tangible a new relation to distances and duration. Somehow we were thinking at the time that our relation to geography is kind of not totally relevant anymore, or somehow something is missing to express what we are experiencing according to the present distances, or our present relation to distances. So we've been starting to use ping to reveal this new topology, somehow the new roots, the new hierarchy, proximity, and power relations that the network bring. And we're wondering how to present this reality somehow, how to make it physical. So one of the projects based on that is Internet EEG. So EEG is like this encephalogram. It's an analysis of the electrical activity on the surface of the head. And we wanted to kind of transpose that around the network. So what we developed is a simple program running on the local host, on the local computer, which is every second sending a ping command to the governmental sites of every nation of the United Nations. So basically 193 nations. We are using not ping, because using ping, as you can see, you can be blocked quite soon. So we're using HPing, which works on the HTTP protocol, and it's less likely to be blocked quickly. So basically, we have this program every second sending a ping to the governmental site of every country, and we just monitor the delay changes as a kind of activity report in live of the network from one point of view, from one perspective, the local host, the place where you experience this project. So I can show you quickly the way it looks. So for instance, here you can see a big peak, a big change. And this is usually when something is happening very close to your local host. So when a change or a perturbation is happening very close. And then when this change is happening a bit further on the routes, it can affect many, but not all of the country. And if this perturbation happens really far, it will affect only one or maybe two of the countries. We can have a closer look. So that's kind of the way it looks. And it's basically just a high pass on the changes produced with this ping and the echo time. After that, the project had kind of a sister version where it's more like a map of the world where every country is just at the right place on the map, on the globe, basically. But then the ping delay affects the distance from the center being localhost here. So basically, it's a world map which is constantly reshaped according to distances that are not the physical distances, not the kilometers or whatsoever, but the milliseconds that it takes to reach one of those points on the network. So the idea here was kind of to find a way or a methodology to render visible the shift in this distance relationship and also in this kind of geopolitical new order of things. I will show you a short sample as well. Okay, I guess that's it for this part. Okay, and now I will start to present the part which is more related to the pirate cinema. So after this couple of researches that have been developed during a few years, I kind of wanted to get closer to not that much the network as a kind of organism or infrastructure or abstract machine, but more closer to the users and basically the effect of the users on the network, or reciprocally the effect of the network on the users. So one aspect of this research was for sure related to the copy culture. at some point I realized that our generation was really affected by the copy culture, and that a big part of our cultural inputs were totally related or directly related to that. I mean, for instance, from my side, like since I was maybe 7, 8 years old, already with the first computers, the programs we were using, the film we were watching, and the document we were exchanging were all coming from the copy. It could be a copy made with friends in the neighborhood, but also things exchanged with cassettes, all the discs and so on, diskettes. And it's pretty much continued all the way until the early 2000s with the kind of the explosion of peer-to-peer practices where basically everything was accessible in that kind of way, books, super rare documentaries and so on. And yeah, it seems to me that this is kind of a huge shift, and somehow I wanted to materialize it in a project. The other aspect of it is the network surveillance. So basically, since the early days of peer-to-peer, network surveillance is also part of the deal. If you take BitTorrent, for instance, since the early days, you can find universities that were monitoring it often for statistical purpose. So that's kind of the data you find every year with like the average of music albums that have been downloaded and the number of people watching illegally this or that. You have also a corporation. Usually it's small size corporations that are hired by huge groups, and they are basically collecting IPs for people downloading very specific things. So this could be, for instance, Universal hiring a small corporation to watch for a specific artist. And you can find also states that are monitoring peer-to-peer traffic. Basically, the fact that monitoring is so easy on the peer-to-peer networks comes from the really infrastructure of BitTorrent, where every IP is totally visible and transparent. So more and more you have people using VPN and proxies, but still the infrastructure is made in such a way that IPs are really easy to grasp. And basically with the pirate cinema, I really wanted to disrupt these surveillance systems and kind of to use it in the opposite way, so that it could reveal the dynamics of peer-to-peer file sharing. So somehow to use the tools of the monitoring entities to reveal the vitality, the materiality of this process and the dynamic of file sharing. So that's what is behind the pirate cinema. So on a technical level, the pirate cinema is relying on a server which is located in Austria. And this server is simply connected to the BitTorrent network and synchronized every day with the most shared files. So basically, it can be 100 of the most shared files or something like that. And from the simple fact that this server has the 100 files, it can be one node, or it can be one of the peer you will be downloading from or sending to. And from this specific position of being very well connected on the server and connected to the BitTorrent users, it can also replicate exactly the packets and the IPs that are being shared right now. So basically, in installations, what the image you can see right now, it's just a local reinterpretation in live based on on what is monitored from this central server. And what you can see is basically the IP of the person which is presently sending this piece of data and the place where this piece of data is sent. And you probably notice that a lot of the video packets are glitched or corrupted. So it's also part of the protocol because the size of the packets that you can see is really related to the network protocol. And most of those packets don't have all the information, and more precisely, they don't have many of the frames, like the key frames that you will need for a correct interpretation. So then what happened is that with Brendan Howell, we built a GStreamer interpreter of the raw data from these exchanges. And the GStreamer interpreter will just try to play it as well as it can. So if it don't has any keyframe, it will play it as it can. So with this kind of ghost images. I will show you a short sample of the installation version and then show you the later developments. Oops. Sorry, guys. I made a small mistake. So basically, after this installation version, we've been showing this project in a few places, and it happens that a place in Seattle started to ask us for a performance version, something that we really wanted to do since a while, but never actually developed. And on the top of it, they wanted a very long performance, a 1 hour performance. And I was like, how can I do a 1 hour performance that makes sense and with this very brutal and radical cut system. And on that, I started with a lot of side ideas that I never developed for the project. And it took the shape slowly of kind of a personal history of file sharing. What I mean by that is it's basically a live performance, which is structured in different acts. And each act is focusing on a moment in the history or an anecdote in the history of file sharing, which is kind of a meaningful articulation or kind of symbolic moment in this history. So you will see a short sample of that, which is basically the introduction of each of those chapters. So there are 6 chapters, and it's the version that has been presented during Transmediale 2 years ago, I guess.
The Pirate Cinema is a live performance in 6 chapters, monitoring peer-to-peer exchanges. Tonight, we will go through a subjective history of online file sharing. Please note, since the original Pirate Bay is currently down, we've been sourcing from the piratebay.cr. Act 1. This first act serves Pirate Bay's longest surviving torrent. It was uploaded on March 29th, 2004 by a user named Wallace. We would like to believe that this torrent of proprietary recipes from famous restaurants was not arbitrarily chosen to be the first. It seems to be a symbolic act. After all, in programming and free software communities, recipes are often used as an example, incorporating the cultural practices of sharing, improvement, hybridization, and appropriation. Act 2. This act is focused on the way in which digital content spreads across the globe. We'll monitor the sharing of audiobooks for language learning and self-improvement. This process reveals some of the patterns of movement in the global dynamics of file sharing.
Gibt es hier einen James? I thought some phrases I used to live in
Act 3. This third part focuses on the Metallica versus Napster case of the early 2000s. Metallica versus Napster Incorporated was the first lawsuit that involved artists suing a peer-to-peer file sharing company. This proved to be a major turning point in the history of P2P file sharing, causing the eventual shutdown of Napster. The following sounds are based on the activity we monitor among users currently sharing Metallica albums. Act 4. This section back at the year 2012, which brought the introduction of pornography as a separate category on Pirate Bay. This change caused porn, which was earlier mixed in under other headings, to become the second most popular grouping of torrents on the site. According to recent statistics, porn represents roughly a third of all files and 15% of downloads. 18 OG 14 10 15 Ada, a free pass to my ass. Hoin highlights Mia Khalifa, her first porno she made, 06 12 14 RQ.mp4. Baby got boobs, Dylan Carter, 24-hour quick titty service, 01 22 2015. DP Flicks, Siri and Urizen Beltran, XX X-Ray Vision, new, Digital Playground, January 23rd, 2015, new.mp4. Blacked, Danny Daniels, Ali Hayes, Swinger Girlfriends Interracial Threesome, January 19th, 2015. 150123, Miri Jane, Koshitsky Girls School Beach Volleyball Unit, Round 2.mp4. Act 5. This next part of tonight's performance is about the naming conventions used by the release groups who acquire and upload the initial files to BitTorrent. Specifically, we're interested in the use of names to distinguish between the numerous versions of the same movie. This week, the most popular movie shared is Interstellar. We'll look at the traffic of Interstellar by examining the following versions. A Spanish language screener poorly shot with a mobile phone in a theater. Telescene where Italian conversations can be heard in the background. Another cheap telescene shot with synced sound, probably made in the projection booth of a cinema. And finally, a DVD press copy where a watermark continually reappears throughout the film. As with most other movies, this process of versioning will eventually end with the upload of a high-quality rip of the Blu-ray disc.
Okay, I guess I will stop here because the last part is basically what you are already experiencing in the show here. Maybe I will just add something about this part. I think in the context of radical networks, this part that we've been visualizing based on audiobook distribution was super interesting to us. And especially on one aspect is that we noticed slowly that while focusing on a specific file, you could really detect specific patterns or specific signatures of the way one file on a specific subject will disseminate. So somehow there is, I think, something that has not been done a lot, and that should be an interesting research to do, which is the specific way a subject or a kind of file or a kind of movie or book is spread across the globe, and what the specific way this file is disseminated around the globe. What does it mean about the political implication, or even the kind of propaganda aspect of it? If you take, for instance, I don't know, an American series that will be that could be seen as a kind of propaganda material, it can be super interesting to see how this propaganda material kind of spread organically using peer-to-peer and the zones it goes or don't go. So for instance, if you take the porn category, you can also see very interesting things where most of the traffic comes actually from parts of the globe where porn is actually super illicit, forbidden. And those are the parts where peer-to-peer is the most used for accessing that. So you can find tons of traffic coming from Asia, Africa, Middle East, and so on. So there are many interesting research to be done, I think, on this dissemination aspect. Yeah, I guess I'm done. Maybe it's even too late already. So maybe we have some minutes left for a few questions, if you like to.
Yep. Can you hear us okay, Nicolas?
Yeah, it's okay for me.
All right, cool, great. So yeah, any questions for Nicolas? Okay. Oh, wait, okay. All right, one sec.
Hi, thanks for your talk. I just had a question. How do you make design decisions about the visual display of inherently invisible information?
Which project specifically are you asking about?
Well, I guess in all of them, in a lot of them, you're dealing with packets. So how do you decide when to use a globe, when text is necessary, how to involve color? How do you sort of walk through the design process of visualizing the end result if it is, I'm thinking of the one where the ping command one, also the one you just showed of the map with red and green, anything with a visual output.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, the sound is not super good here, so I have to concentrate, but it's okay, I understood. It depends a lot on the different project for sure. So I will say that most of the project tends to go toward the simplest forms. So for instance, in the pirate cinema, the only design decision is the addresses, the IP addresses. All the other aspects of the video version is really like the pure technical infrastructure. Basically here at the GStreamer decoding capacities. If we take the globe, this globe made out of country names. Basically, the idea here was to kind of, I guess, propose or explore a different way of representing the globe as we know it, and kind of play on this blurry line between the network that is perhaps complex to represent and the geographical qualities of, the usual geographical representation. So somehow, to make a kind of tension line between the way we usually represent the globe and the way that network distances affect those proximities and those somehow geopolitical power positions or hierarchical positions. I don't know if there are others. Maybe on the internet topography one, so the sound has no design decision. It's just a silent stream. And as I said, all the error correction systems are removed. So it just produces this kind of MP3 or OGG artifacts. And basically, we just take it as it is. So it's really expressing the errors through the medium itself. And visually, it's a spectrogram. So the spectrogram was just analyzing the whole band from the lowest range to the high frequency in this audio signal, and basically represented. So there are some design decisions for sure, but we tend to keep them quite simple when it's possible. I hope it's answering more or less what you expect.
Okay, I think we had another question. Okay, one sec.
Hello. Related to the previous question, are you using any command line graphics libraries to generate the global map? Or the one that was very interesting to me was the internet EEG. Are those, you know, what are you using to generate those? They're very interesting to me.
If you could repeat, because the sound is really distant.
Those maps, particularly the EEG piece. He was wondering like what kind of tools you might be using to generate those graphics.
Okay. Yeah, I can answer to that. So maybe I will share the screen again so that we have a kind of visual. Can you see something?
Yeah, it's loading.
Yes. So I hope you can see that.
It's still it's still spinning, but I presume something will come up.
All right. So, for instance, this internet EEG, the code has been made in a Bash script, a simple Bash script. Basically, it's a loop making 100 different tasks, and each of 193 different tasks, and each task is pinging in a loop every country website, governmental website. On the visual aspect, it's at the time it was a pure data patch, and this pure data patch will just render this these lines you can see here. I don't know if you can see it. And in a later version, it has been made in basically HTML5. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's it for that.
it seems like the screen
And
share didn't want to load. Oh, sorry to cut you off. I was just saying that the screen share, it's still hanging. Could you try maybe to flip it on again?
You can see this thing, right?
Yeah, no, like we see you in the corner, but we can't see what you're screen sharing. It's still loading. Or Skype is like not wanting to load it.
Okay, whatever.
All right.
If you can hear me, it's okay. Yeah, and basically the main tool we've been using, or I've been using, is basically Bash command lines and pure data for the sound and visual live interface. Or live rendering.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much, Nicolas.
Oh, thanks.